Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 27 of Ultimate Exotics, the review series of course for Gran Turismo's current selection of supercars. And in this episode we're featuring the second Citroen GT to be featured in the series. We already reviewed the kind of road version powered by the V8, which I believe was from Ford, and now we are reviewing the concept version, which is even more of a unique car than the road version. Now, the road version is one of the quickest supercars in the game, especially for its power, but it's also known for being one of the trickiest to set up correctly. This version has some very distinct advantages and also potentially disadvantages when compared to that model. The most obvious and most notable thing about the concept version is, of course, that it is an electric car. Fully electric, not just a hybrid, and it is by far the fastest electric car currently in the game. Now, I personally think that the Tesla Vision GT, if it goes to plan and doesn't back out like some of the other companies have, could well top this car. But until then, this is by far the quickest EV in the game. It has a top speed of around 265 under its own power, and that's through a single speed gearbox. Now, you can't tune that, unfortunately, so that's all the speed you can ever get out of it. One other unique thing that this car has over the road version is all-wheel drive, and it makes a big difference to the steering. The road car becomes very, very skittish once you get up around 240 or more, and on the track it has an extremely light front end, a bit like a Lamborghini. This model, although sharing similar traits, is to a much lesser degree due to the fact that it has power going to those front wheels as well. And if you set it up correctly, this is actually one of the best circuit racing supercars in the game, and that is mirrored by the fact that it has a remarkably high PP of 682, which is massive for an electric car. And the funny thing is, you may have noticed, if you're like me, a huge fan of electric cars, or maybe you've noticed anyway, that both of the high-performance electric models on the game, this and the Tajima E-Runner, both have surprisingly high PP levels. Well, compared to what you may expect, that is, of an electric car. So why is that? Well, one of the massive advantages of an electric car is if you build it and set it up properly, you can have seamless acceleration and colossal amounts of torque immediately off of the line. And that is true to the utmost extent with this car, because of the fact that, for any who don't know, this has the highest amount of torque of any car on Gran Turismo, more than the Jay Leno tank car. It has an almost ridiculous 1,808 pound-feet of torque. That is insane. Now, the power, unfortunately, is no way near that. It's 779 horsepower, but that absolutely colossal amount of torque means that you don't need gears. It gives you incredible pulling power throughout its entire performance range. Off the line, the all-wheel drive combined with that massive torque mean that even without NOS, it's incredibly quick. It can beat many other supercars, in fact, off the line. And the fact that it also has that torque and all that power means that, unlike many other electric cars, it doesn't just peter out at 150 or 200 for the sake of the batteries, because on the game this is of course a car which has never achieved that performance in real life, but they allow it to actually go a bit crazy with that performance, so it can do, as we said, that 265 mph top speed, which is around 63 mph quicker than the next nearest electric car, which is the Tajima E-Runner at around 202 mph. Now, this car is reasonably expensive for an EV. It's 1.45 million credits, but if you discount the fact that it's an electric car and just consider it as a supercar, that's not a particularly outlandish price. There are plenty around that region. The Veyron costs more than that. It's a similar price to cars like the Aston 177. It's at least as exclusive, in some cases more so than other supercars, and it's completely unique to drive. I personally absolutely love electric cars, and this car is by far, I would say, the best example of an electric car in the game. In terms, that is, of how competitive it is. My personal favourite electric car in the game is, of course, the Tesla. But in terms of actual race-winning ability, this is the best. And that's the reason why that PP is so high. 682 is serious territory, but this car can actually compete at that level. Not necessarily against prototypes, but against fully tuned GT class vehicles, this car can still hold its ground extremely well. Now, it puts out 611 horsepower per tonne, and surprisingly, the weight of the car is actually really good. Usually electric vehicles are very heavy, and all-wheel drive vehicles are typically very heavy. Combine the two, and you'd expect it to be a ridiculously heavy vehicle, possibly even 2 tonnes or more. But it doesn't weigh anywhere near that. It actually weighs less than some of the conventional supercars on the game, at 1,274 kilos. So all round, if you haven't bought this car, even if you're not necessarily the biggest fan of electric cars, it is so unique and so competitive in its own unique way. I definitely recommend that you give this car a try. But that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.